Okay.
They
Which
both
one?
on the, one
Proclamation?
of them together.
I have a one,
No.
right? Yeah,
They were
one.
just joking.
The other one's in the
Yeah.
packet.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, oh, they must be like related. They're all, money's all going to the same house or something.
Can you move them up? So it's three altogether?
It's more than three. It's about 6 total, I believe. I think it's 5 that's on the agenda, and then the additional one, but it's only 2 here. It's not 3, it's only 2 that we might be presenting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's only 2 that you guys might be presenting, not 3.
So a total of maybe
That's
6.
not the third one, it's just the way it's one was for the census, so they needed to do that. I'm not sure if they do. And the other one maybe for the disabled.
Okay, got it.
That was early in the month.
Chick-fil-A to come to Belgrade. How do we get that to come out here? Do we call, just provide a place for them?
You ready?
Yeah, we ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with our workshop. City Attorney, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
City Clerk,
Yes, sir.
City Manager,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Sergeant at Arms. I call this City Commission workshop of the City Commission on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020, to order at 6:04 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation given by Vice Mayor Mervin, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, in the name of Jesus, God, we want to say thank you. Thank you, God, for bringing us back together again one more time. Father God, we want to thank you, oh God, for a new year, Father God. Father God, we ask you, God, to direct our vision and direct our passion, oh God, for our city. Father God, we ask you, God, to touch each and everyone here tonight, God, our city commission, our administration, and our citizens, oh God. Bless us tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Boland,
Present.
Commissioner Everett,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
City Manager,
Present.
City Attorney,
Here.
City Clerk is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, staff. This workshop of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee is being held to discuss the January 28th, 2020 agenda. Before I turn this portion over to our city manager, I just want to advise the commission, our main focus tonight will be primarily on the contract of the city manager. We'd like to get the discussion out to see if we can reach a consensus before the regular commission meeting, so that the deliberation won't be as in-depth and we can move forward with our regular commission agenda. So at this time, I'll turn this portion over and I'll ask the city manager to kind of just give a brief overview of what we'll be discussing tonight, and then we'll go into the discussion of our city manager annual contract.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Good evening, residents, visitors. Mayor, it appears that we may have a lengthy agenda, but actually it's just a lot of approval of minutes. We have 3 resolutions and several proclamations. Most of those are all of those are ratifications for activities and events, and some recognitions that have occurred since our last meeting. As you indicated, probably the most lengthy resolution is 20-03. We may want to move that up to number 1 in the regular meeting, so we can address that effectively and timely here for our residents. 2020-02, as you recall, we donated 3 lots to Habitat for Humanity to build homes. One of the lots was determined not buildable based on just the dynamics of what was occurring with the two adjacent residents to the north and south. We came back and selected another property on Begonia Drive, so that's why you see that resolution back in front of you. We just swapped out the lots for Habitat for Humanity, and they were, of course, pleased with that. So that's why 2020-02 is there on the agenda tonight. So there still will be building 3 homes for the city of Pahokee. I see a representative here tonight for that organization. So we thank them again for coming to Pahokee and wanting to invest in our city and build some new houses here in the city of Pahokee. If there are any questions on the resolutions at this time, we can, have that conversation during the workshop. I'm sorry, 2020-01 is a resolution for your local mitigation strategy plan. That is something that we agree to for when it comes to land use, flood control, et cetera. Every municipality adopts, a practice per the county standards for local mitigation. We passed one, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not quite sure. And so we're just renewing and revising what our local mitigation strategy plan was previously. Not too many changes, except you also know that recently we had some changes in our floodplain management that changed the dynamics of how you do construction out here in the Glades and other cities. But for the most part, this is the standard mitigation strategy plan that has been approved previously. So at this time, Mayor, we are in workshop mode at this time for the items on the agenda.
Okay. What we'll do at this time is go into a discussion. We won't be able to make any official decision, but it will help expedite our regular commission meeting when it comes to the city manager contract. So at this time, I would like to have discussion on that to see if we can reach some type of consensus. I'll start off by asking each of the commission, based on the contract you received, do you have any question or concern, any recommended adjustment, or anything you just want to add? And I'm going to make this kind of quick and simple, just to start off. Normally, the mayor kind of is last at this, but kind of to help us, guide us along. My recommendation to this contract this year would be that there would be no changes in the contract. I would recommend that we continue with the previous year contract with the addition of the salary for the city manager. I think that his salary does need to be adjusted. We did have the opportunity to give our line item employees raises, so I think it would be appropriate that he receive a raise. All the other information that he's requesting is just a personal review and opinion by the mayor that those items should be deferred, and we should continue with our previous year contract. At this time, I'm just start from our city vice mayor. Any recommendation, any observation, any point that you would like to bring up?
Mayor, the only thing that I had that I wanted was about the time off. His had it. I had left my other one. About the trying to find the page that is on. I think it was the time, the vacation time. That I'm not sure. Just asking a question. I know that, is there a cap on the vacation time of incurring of vacation time?
Yes, I think all of our employees have a cap, including the city manager. City manager, at this time, could you kind of expound on the cap of our regular employees, including yourself, as far as vacation is concerned?
Correction, there is a cap for regular employees. The vacation for the city manager is whatever the commission agrees it to be, because it's just separate, and it always has been that way for 5 years. But looking at it and knowing that one of the commissioners had a question on it, I think most people know I don't take too much vacation time, if any at all. And I know it can be a concern as those hours increase and you're not taking too much time off and it's not coming off the books. So if I were to, looking at that and hearing that previously, what I wanted to recommend for vacation is to put into the contract a stipulation that says the city manager must take a week's vacation annually, or else he loses it within that annual time, which is from April 6th to April 6th of each year. So that forces me to take a week's vacation, which amounts up to about a full 7 days, about 70 hours or something like that. So that would force me, even though you give me 140 hours on my anniversary date, April 6th, you're still going to force me to take half of that on an annual basis. I think that would resolve that concern, because it will minimize that vacation from continuing to increase. It would force me to take those vacation days on an annual basis.
Okay, I can see that, but I also can see that it should be a little higher than a week. It should be a minimum of 2 weeks. And in addition,
140 hours, he's saying 70-hour week, it is 2 weeks.
okay, but he mentioned just a week
Oh,
in his
you're saying,
presentation,
okay.
right? So
Yeah.
if that's a
I
week.
I was talking weeks and hours, but yeah.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
weeks. In addition to that, I feel that even the city manager vacation should be capped, or the time would be lost. When I say that, I'm talking about approximately, and I'm just using this as an example, 400 hours. When I worked for the county, all employees, including the county administrator, had a cap on their vacation. We had one administrator that retired, and that commission was shocked that the payout that it caused for that person not taking vacation. So that, not only with now sick leave was continuous, there wasn't a cap
Right.
on that.
Right.
Even comp time, if you don't use your comp time in a certain amount of period, you know, most of that will be lost up to a certain percentage of it. So we have to
And I
look
was,
at
and
that.
I was actually, you know, we have to go back and pull all my records, but I was taking a lot of the comp time, but not a lot of the vacation. I'm one to admit that, and I've been told by some of you that I need to take vacation. Just haven't. I'll take a day, 2 days here, a day, there throughout the year. It may add up to 5 to 6 days out of the year, but you know, I know it's a bad habit of just not taking vacation time. It's not more of trying to build time. It's more of I just get uncomfortable not being here more than 3 days sometimes, and it's just I know I've been told to take it, and this really is it's an unhealthy habit that I've taken on for the last 5 years. So, and I recognize that as well. It's just not healthy not to take that time off. All my other employees do it. I'm just not that guy, and maybe that's a bad habit that I had that needs to be corrected here, and I'll admit that. That's a good admission.
Let's go back to the cap as far as employees. What are their vacation cap?
You can go up to 400 and I'm talking about hours. 50 hours, don't quote me on that, somewhere up in there. And then that's where it stops for them. As far as the amount they can obtain within a year. I think right now my vacation is above that. I think it's around about 550 or 575 or somewhere like that. Maybe right about 600 for vacation. And then with the recent health issues, I've been taking quite a bit of of time here and there, and that's been adding up. But mine's right about 575, but the cap is about 450 for regular employees, just about, and I'm above that at this point. And we did adjust that when I came in as a city manager. When I came in, you had long-term employees that had actually 600 hours, 700 hours, and we did bring that down some to control payouts. But right now, I'm about 575, 600, somewhere in there. So, and that's excluding the anniversary date that's coming up in April that you re-award again annually. So I'm going to need to be taking, as you said, 2 weeks this year to lower these amounts. And, you know, I agree with that. Actually, it's a good enforcement, to be honest with you, because I haven't taken any vacation time, to be honest with you. So I can agree with the 2 weeks.
Commissioners, any recommendation on what you would consider a appropriate cap on vacation for the city manager?
You mentioned the county was using what number?
400.
400?
And that's include the county administrator, the head person in the county government.
I think we should at least use that as a guide. I was one that had a concern with accruing time and also rollover. Does it roll over?
No, actually, if
You get up, once you get up to that amount, you can't go higher than that for employees. Like I said, you can set the standard for a city manager much differently. As right now, say I'm right at 600 hours now. So if you want to cap it at 600 and say, hey, come April 6th, we're not awarding you 140 hours of vacation, and you have to, you know, keep it up under 600 hours, that's fine with me because I'm at 600 now.
yeah, I think we'd have to find a way to help the city manager reduce that time and give him a certain amount of time to get that down. I don't recommend continuing to give them benefits over and above our regular line item employees. So if the regular employees are receiving a cap of 400 hours, I think the city manager should fall within those same parameters.
Agree.
So can we cap it at 4 and just I know you already got, what, say 600 on the books?
Well,
Cap
it
it
works
at
like
4.
this. If you're gonna cap it now and not grandfather it in and say you can't go above that, I think that's more acceptable for me, because that's my time, because it'd be nearly impossible, because you're gonna re-award more vacation time coming up. It would be nearly impossible unless you pay some of that time out. So you have an option to pay some of that time out, take the rest on vacation, but it would be impossible to say, hey, you need to go from 600 hours to 450 hours, you know, by April 6th, which is
So that's
my
what I'm saying, you
anniversary
cap it
day.
at 4 and you take 2 weeks vacation. That would take off, what, 80 hours?
140, he's saying, 70 hours a week. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, ma'am. I'd actually accept 500, not 4. Not to be negotiating here, but that's just what I'm saying.
You said all the county is at 4? And
Yes.
yet our employees are at 450?
Cities vary,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm amenable. I'm more along the lines of 4. With regards to that, and I had a question, and I do also agree with you, Matt. What is the contributions for the other employees?
Depends. Depends on your years in service, those
No, I'm
those
talking
hours.
retirement benefit.
It depends on what you decide it is to be. If you want to,
No, I'm saying, what is the employees currently?
it depends. Like, you get, I think the city contributes 3, and then you have the option selectively to do 1%, 2%, 3%. If you do, I think if you do 2.5%, then the city comes back and matches it with another 1.5 or 2%. I wish I had my HR manager here. So you get 2% up front, and then you can add to that yourself voluntarily. And then if you go, I think, above that, and I know I'm correct, then the city also matches that at like 2.5%, somewhere up in there. As far as, you're talking about retirement, correct? Commissioner Everett, talking about retirement, right? Investment.
Section, 6.
Right. When I first came here, I started off at just the minimum amount. And then in 2017, after 2 years, we redid my contract. We added 2%, which is now 5% now. What you're reading, 8%, is just asking for additional 3%. But you've already added 2% 2 years ago. And so we're just asking for 3% 3 years later. So that's the 8% that you're looking at. I'm not asking for 8%. I'm already at 5.
You're not, did you say you're not asking for 8? You're saying you are
I'm already at
now
5.
asking.
It's additional 3.
He asking for
Okay.
3.
Right.
And that's
I
a,
gotcha.
yeah, that's a recommendation that I'm not concurring with. Again, I'm looking back at the previous contract and the 5% that we awarded him, the additional 2 to make it 5. I'm recommending we stay with that and no increase in retirement benefit. Now, of course, if depending on what he contributes to his own retirement, the city does do some type of matching for that. So that's a little different from what's he requesting here. He's requesting additional 3% from 5 to 8.
Okay. I have a question about Section 8. 8D, it says an automobile allowance will be, city manager will be provided an automobile with no less than 100,000 miles on the odometer. What difference?
We replace it at 100,000 miles.
Yeah, but suppose we don't have the money to replace it at 100,000 and it's still running.
Again, that's one of the items, Commissioner.
That's been in there
Bolin,
before.
That as a mayor, I'm requesting that no changes be made on that, what his previous contract. If it's not in there, then I don't
Is it
think
in
we
it?
should include that as a benchmark to receive a new vehicle. I'm in the impression that if a car is running and is properly maintained, it should continue to be in service. Now, there could be a situation where the city manager needed a new automobile or another automobile based on the maintenance costs of the current automobile or breakdowns, of course. We will consider that. So I think it's safe to know that in the event that he actually need a new vehicle due to maintenance problem or concern, this city commission will afford him with a new automobile. But just to say that we're gonna recommend provide him with a new automobile every 100,000 miles, I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
But
either.
Mayor, just for point of reference here, when the last city attorney drafted this, no one had issues with any of these items. So the only issue we had with that we kept coming back to was salary. I'm just wondering just what changed since the last confer on these items.
If you look,
I don't, if I may, Mayor, I don't think anything changed. I'm not, I'm of this thought that if you have two choices, repair the car if it's general repairs required, or if it's going to add up where repair costs would be like putting money in a bag with holes in it, then we replace the car. But I just think, well, trust the governing body of the city, that we, we respect the city and the face of the city so much that we won't have cars that are backfiring and not, functioning as it should. I just don't think that should be, that necessarily has to be a part.
Right. Well, here's why it's a part of it. When I got here 4.5, 5 years ago, all of your vehicles were 80, 90, 100,000 miles. They were 15, 20-year-old vehicles. And of course, no, they don't. We've took them offline. We replaced them all but 90, all except 2 of them. And the reason why we did that is because those fleet vehicles, and you can refer this to any city or even PVSO sitting over here, that's why they change their cars out when it gets to a certain mileage, because it gets to a point where you have to change those cars out. And we have had a bad habit of holding on to those vehicles, and it costs us more one in maintenance to maintain those vehicles versus replacing them with new used, which is what we did
But that's
with all
what-
of our vehicles.
That's what he
So-
just said, if it goes where it's costing us more.
Right,
to
but
maintain
typically
it than it's
typically
worth.
that's the 100,000 mile mark
Nah.
with these vehicles. I'm just telling you
Driving
from our
one
fleet
that's got way over
experience.
100 on it.
I'm just telling you from what we have on record with our mechanic in our shop, with any other fleet program that you see, typically that's when those vehicles begin to cost more than what they're worth. And so that's why that 100,000 miles is there. Because we use this for just about all our vehicles. Of course, some of them are above that now, but we hardly drive them now because it costs more to keep them on the road.
Let me ask you something. We don't have the previous contract in our hands at this time. I think we asked for it, but we don't have it. Anyway, is that in your last contract? Because
It was proposed in the last contract.
it was proposed,
and-
but
Wasn't in there, though.
I objected it last time.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, was it put in there?
It was,
I know it was proposed.
it was put in there. And when we were discussing the contract, that was one of the items that was not pushed back on. It was more of the salary. You can go back and look at the minutes if you choose, but
I
it's
will.
there. But, listen, you're welcome to take it out.
Okay.
This is
If-
workshop.
Chandler,
but I'm
if
just
it's
saying it
in
was
there this year, I recommend that what's in there this year, I don't have a problem. I don't think it's in there. I know I objected to it last year with the same argument that if your car break down continuously and maintenance would cost him more than purchasing another car, we will certainly do that. I think you have adequate protection from this commission that you won't be riding in a car that will be
I
breaking
know.
down on the road. But to say that we're gonna sit up here and give you a car every 100,000 miles would not be factual. I think if you surveyed this community or anybody up here, our average car is over 100,000.
Right.
You know, so we're not saying you can't purchase your own car, but we're saying we're not gonna automatically give you a car every 100,000 miles. But we're gonna work with you and make sure you got a properly vehicle that you can use that won't break down on you.
Okay, I have another question about section 9, B. Did we have 1-year salary insurance? Did we do that last year?
Section 9B.
Uh-huh.
I think that's for your family, your dependents. She's asking, is that in the last contract that we will provide health insurance? And I
No,
believe-
this is life insurance with a value of 1-year salary.
Yes, we've always had that.
Okay,
For the city manager.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my question just quickly would be, I think you have a request to provide dependent insurance. Was that in the last contract?
You mean health insurance?
Yes.
I don't
For the
utilize the
dependent.
city's health insurance.
Huh?
I don't utilize the city's health insurance.
No, it's not health
Just
insurance.
life
it's
insurance.
life
She's talking about
insurance.
life insurance.
Okay, I know
Says
that's for
life.
him, but it has one item in there for his family, his dependents. I thought.
It just says selected beneficiary.
But Mayor, that's offered to everybody. If you take insurance, you can add your dependents anytime you want. But I don't take city health insurance.
Okay.
She's
And-
talking life insurance.
Yeah.
And that's standard. It's been in there.
Okay, and then under section 3A, it says that we need 4 members of the commission, but then in section B, it says we only need 3 members of the city commission.
You have two different clauses there, Commissioner
Yeah, I
Bowman.
understand that,
One's
but why
with,
do we
one's
have
without.
2 different amounts of,
One is without cause, meaning you can't wake up one day and say, I don't like the way you comb your hair, so you're terminated. So it makes it a little more difficult for you to do that. That protects me, honestly, to be frank with you.
but 3
terminate
votes
with
or
cause
3
is
votes
different.
in anything that we decide in the city? Why do we need 4?
Because it protects, personally, as a professional, it protects me. I feel more comfortable.
At this time, though, now, we're approaching the end of our workshop. We can actually go over line by line, but what I was trying to do is even prevent the necessary of doing that, just maintaining his current contract for another year, with the exception of his salary that we need to really discuss and determine how much salary increase we'll be giving him. But item that you are referring to, and I'm not saying that this won't be a discussion, but my recommendation, things like that, as far as having a supermajority to terminate him for no cause, I'm saying that if it wasn't in last year's contract, we're not really considered in this particular contract. That just,
But in that case, then we should have just taken his contract, marked out the amount, put in a new amount, called it a day.
Well, that's not,
I mean-
that's kind of not how it works, though. I have to agree to it. And if I don't agree to it, then we're at an impasse, and we've been on an impasse for 3 years.
If-
So,
if-
I know this is a workshop, so
okay.
I'm just saying.
Let me go
I
back
don't
to the
get it. I don't
agreement
understand.
question. You can agree or you can disagree, but it will be up to the majority of the commission to put in what standards we're gonna have for your contract. You can decide from that point whether or not, what your course of action would be. I mean, certainly you can have some
Just because he
negotiation,
gives us a
but
contract doesn't mean we have to accept everything that's in it. I don't agree with some of this stuff, so, I mean, I want to ask the questions. I want to find out, what the rest of the commission feels about it. To me, that was the idea of this.
we're gonna go back to Commissioner Vice Mayor Murray and come back this way. I'm gonna make my point very clear so we can move on. My recommendation is that we don't make any changes to the city manager contract for the upcoming year other than the exception of the salary increase, the consideration of what his salary would be. So if he's asking this year for a supermajority as far as termination for non-cause, I'm saying we're not gonna consider that. That's my opinion. I'm just asking for the support of the other commission as a consensus, but that would push us through this contract with the exception of his salary. And then he has a choice from that point on, if we agree to accept this particular contract or try to renegotiate it at some point. Yes. I'm asking, do you have any other suggestion other than what I
No.
mentioned, or you kind of in concurrent with that thought of change?
Yeah, I can move on that line, Mayor, with the contract, so we can get through all, instead of having all of this different discussion, let's do the salary and, move on with the, contract.
Now, there will be one exception, that the cap, we have
Okay.
all, I think, agreed that the city manager should have a cap. We're gonna have to work with the city attorney and see how that can be done. We don't, I agree with him, don't want to penalize him if he's have accrued currently 600 hours. We have to find a way to help reduce that and not to add to that until he come down to the 400. Commissioner Everett, sir. Any thoughts?
I agree with you to keep the contract as is, but what I think would have been helpful, the new additions, it would have been helpful to maybe put in bold or italicized, maybe the additions or the changes. I do agree with keeping, for doing a cap. I think one of my concerns is that ideally the only person or group or body that supervises the city manager is this governing body. But when it comes to days, I'm not privy to your conversations with the city manager, but is there a courtesy given to mayor when days are taken? Or is
Yeah,
there?
if I'm going to the doctor, if I'm gonna be out, I let the mayor know. I fill out my lease slip, pass it on to HR. She files it, takes the time off the books. That's always a courtesy that I loan to him per our HR policy, and that's been the standard practice. Is when I'm gonna be out, let him know, and that's how it's approved. That's the standard requirement for city manager, City of Pahokee, per our HR policy.
And
Same for the city clerk.
And also, being that we're adding a cap, which that was a concern of mine, because you could you can really be paying a substantial amount of money, and also considering if it is without cause, 3 months severance pay, and 100% of all sick leave, comp time, and annual leave. I think and this is not just for Mr. Williamson, any city manager that comes in the city and work. I think there needs to be some type of review of time throughout the course of the fiscal year, so that we don't come up against accruing so much time so that the city is paying an enormous amount of money.
Well, if you're capping
in
it, that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, it does, but I think also a review would be good with regards to time.
Yeah.
Because ideally, it's a council, manager, form of government. Nobody in that office supervises you. We are the governing body, so I think there needs to be some type of review of time, so that we don't come up against this impasse of 600-700 hours and no time has been taken. So maybe we can, Mayor, work with the HR in regards to that. As far as retirement, I agree. We keep it to 5 because there's within the city, if one contributes, there is a matching mechanism within the city. I think we should strike out in section 8D. I think there needs to be some kind of gentleman agreement of courtesy, understanding that we're not going to have any employees riding in putt-putts. And I do commend the city manager for upgrading the fleet that our city currently has. And I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I think there needs to be careful consideration with regards to salary tonight. And I think, and one of the things I do want to say, and I don't want to keep this conversation lingering too long, is a point that was made regarding making sure that we stick to, with the highest level of fidelity, reviewing contract and evaluation. I think it is beneficial when commissioners can have an open door policy with the city manager and speak one-on-one. Unfortunately, the Sunshine Law does not allow us to have executive session where we can discuss things behind closed doors and report the findings. But I think there needs to be some discussion, because when we talk about annual reviews and compensation with raises, some of my colleagues may disagree with me, but you talk, when we discuss raise, you got to talk performance, because most raises hinges on merit base. I think regardless of the political philandering we got going on in our community, I do see positives, but I also see areas of concern that need to be improved. But I think we do need to give credit where credit is due, regardless of how you feel.
Let me ask the city attorney this. Outside of litigation, are there any other provision for a client attorney session? And I know, and I'm gonna let the audience know, these clients attorney session, once they are resolved, their public transcript is shared with you. So it's nothing hid, but it gives us an opportunity to discuss some sensitive matter, mainly litigation matters, in a private manner till it can be resolved. So I'm just asking her, outside of that, are there any other exceptions?
No, sir, not for employment contracts like this one.
Okay.
All righty.
We're going to conclude our work.
Am I going to get to talk?
You're going to get to talk at our regular commission meeting. We're going to end it, and we're going to continue this during that particular time. Allow you to ask and make any comments at that time. At this time, I'm adjourning the workshop, and we'll reconvene our regular commission meeting in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, just what's the agenda, and then yeah, I'm just thinking, it was running, but my apologies. Wow. Would you like to review it really quickly? It's here.
Lord, we ask you to guide our thoughts and our voices, that whatever we do, Lord, you can be pleased with. We pray for the unity of this community as we come together, for we know, Lord, that when we are one and work in unity, that you can work with us. So we ask your blessing upon those on the diocese, and we pray, God, for the citizens of Pahokee. Lord, we pray that your blessing will truly fall on this community, and that everything that is needed, that you will provide. So we thank you for this day, for this privilege of gathering together, and we just ask you, Lord, that you guide us now, our thoughts, our minds, and our footsteps. We ask all these things in your name, and all of God's children said, amen.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Commissioner Boland,
Present.
Commissioner Everett,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Vice Mayor Mervin,
Present.
City Manager,
Here.
City Attorney. Here. City Clerk is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, staff, and thank each of you all for being here today to participate in our regular scheduled commission meeting of Tuesday, January 28th, 2020. Additions, deletions, and approval of agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission, residents, visitors. Thanks for coming out tonight. Mayor, we are adding ratification of a proclamation for Mr. Hugh Hinton Branch. That's the only item that is registered for addition as it pertains to the resolutions. If you want to move 2020-03 to number 1 and have that discussion, you're welcome to. The other ones are more formality for tonight. That's a,
With resolution,
2020-03, that's resolution, resolution for the city manager's agreement. If you want to make that number 1. That's
We shouldn't,
that's
because
at the
she's
privilege
here.
of the commission.
That way she can't leave.
Say again, Commissioner.
okay. That's the consensus of the commission that we move
No.
20.
Mayor, I think
No,
that
the
we.
lady from Habitat is here.
Yeah, I
and she'd
think-
have to wait through all that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that's important, but let's do, I think we should do the census and the habitat. Let's get those, since those won't take so long,
Yes,
and then we go to,
okay.
So we have no questions on those two, I'm assuming? Okay. Sounds good then. Keep it as the same, Mayor.
Okay.
You just have the addition add-on ratification of proclamation
Okay.
for Mr. Hugh Hinton Branch.
So we have the recommendation for the add-on of a proclamation for Hugh H. Branch.
remember, I make a motion that we accept the add-on, the proclamation in memory of Mr. Hugh H. Branch.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Vice Mayor Burvin and properly second by Commissioner Bowden that we add on the proclamation for Hugh H. Branch and approve the other agenda items as presented. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. The motion passed by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to our citizen comments, public service announcement. All items on the agenda must have a public service comment card completed. At this time, City Clerk, do we have any comment card completed by our citizens?
Yes, sir, we have 2. The first one is from Sharon Coven.
Sharon Colvin, 3096 Bacon Point Road. First off, we got no agenda tonight. Secondly, since the contract ends in 3 days, I'd like to know what's been done about waste management for our city for garbage pickup and recycles. Also, I would like to know why the city manager changed this contract without bringing it before the commission, as it has cost the city more money. And one big question I have is, why is all business not taken care of in a timely manner instead of nothing is brought before the commission until the last minute? Now, if I took care of my bills like that, I would find no electricity, no water, no nothing. We are a city that I am proud to live in, but we need to take care of our business when it is supposed to be taken care of and waited until the last minute. We have 3 days until this garbage contract is out. So, Mr. Mayor, what are we going to do and what has been done? I want my recycles and garbage picked up.
So we'll give a review, a status update on that contract that you're referring to. We'll ask the city manager to make sure he include that as part of his report, so we can have a status update of where we are.
Mayor, let me save time here. Our contract doesn't end in 3 days. We have until March as agreed to in December, until we put another contractor in place. And so we're just fine with our trash, our recycle, and our bulk until March. That was decided in December. As far as waiting to the last minute, that wasn't a last minute brought to the commission. That actual bid went out, prescribed, at least in a timely manner around September. Once we got responses, we then went into negotiation with that particular vendor. They were extremely too high. We negotiated quite some time with them. I then brought that to the commission so they can make a decision to extend the extension on that contract until we go back to other vendors to secure a long-term solution. So
Now, and
our
that-
trash is just fine.
In the last meeting, though, it was said that the contract was only until the end of January.
No.
And it's in the minutes that way.
It's in the minutes.
No, we didn't.
Approval to extend the contract for 30 days with Waste
It's 60
Management up
days.
until January 31st, 2020.
No, but it's 60 days because that's the MOU that they sent us.
Then,
That's what Waste
Then the
Management
minutes
sent
are
us to
wrong.
March 1st. They sent us, we have to March 1st. We have to March 1st. And right now, as far as a new contract, we'll be proposing approval of a response to a new contract at the next meeting. So we're in the right time frame to ensure that our services will continue. But we do have till March 1st, and that was confirmed by Waste Management.
March 1st?
Yes.
We can correct the minutes when we get to that particular minutes. We did indicate at our last,
I'm sorry, that's how you guys voted on it. That was the motion.
yeah.
Right,
that's
for
what I-
60
Exactly, yeah.
60 days.
It was written exactly how the motion was stated.
Yeah, she's saying that we made a motion and we voted to give them 30 days, not until March 1st.
It's 60 days. That's the MOU that they provided. That's what we signed. We have to March 1st.
City Clerk, is it right or wrong?
I wrote the minutes exactly how you guys
How
expressed.
the motion and
Mm-hmm.
the vote was?
Well, do you have a copy of the MOU, sir?
No, I didn't think I had to bring
No,
that
I'm saying, do you
tonight.
have, no, I
Yeah,
didn't say
oh,
whether
yeah,
you brought it
definitely.
or not, I'm saying,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
have a copy?
Oh, yeah.
Do you, we have scanning capabilities, don't we?
Yeah, I can give it to you tomorrow, but
Can you
it's
please
60
scan it,
days. We got
first
till
thing in
March
the
1st.
morning?
Yeah.
To make sure, to ensure that we can assure the public
already signed
that it's
and-
March 1st.
It's March
Okay.
1st. We're fine. So,
Because the minutes does reflect January 31st, but so that we can reassure the community that garbage and recycle will be picked up. Can you scan it
Sure.
in an email attachment to
Sure.
all of the commissioners so that we can make our constituents aware that their garbage and recycle will be picked up?
And it's going to be picked up by Waste Management?
yes, ma'am. It's still
Okay.
March. And
Okay.
between now and March 1st, we'll be negotiating with a new vendor, and it'll be a seamless process from Waste Management to the next vendor. We're fine. I've seen the MOU, I've signed it, and it came right after that meeting. It's till March 1st.
Are we currently in conversations?
No, I can't be in conversations with the new vendor until I propose it to this commission.
Okay.
And we bring it
Oh,
at
well,
the next
well,
meeting.
let me ask you, do you have any persons
Yes.
of interest?
Yes, we had to go back to those vendors that came and wanted to respond to the first, and we got a response back again since December. So that's where we are.
Then I'm totally confused because it says during that time, solicit an emergency vendor in addition to an RFP that is needed. So are you saying we're not going out for a new RFP?
No, we went back out since December, and I actually got on the phone and even called the prior pre-bidders at the last meeting that came to the pre-bid meeting. I actually sent them a letter as well, indicating that we now have an opportunity for a second response. We still only got one response for trash services in the city of Pahokee, even after all of that.
One plus Waste Management or just
Waste
one?
Management didn't apply again because they want $1 million. And as you know, our budget for trash in this city is about $450 a year. So they didn't reapply again.
Sir,
But again, we're fine with Waste Services here till March 1st, and we'll have someone in place well before then, and it'll be a seamless process. You won't miss any pickups on your street, any recycling whatsoever.
okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
We're going to move on to the Any additional comments, City Clerk?
Yes, sir. The last one is from Mr. Herbert Crawford. It's,
It don't
it's at
have
the
to
beginning,
be.
sir.
Herbert Crawford, 8833 Eldorado Drive. I just have two questions. One is concerning the picnic area on the marina. Do we have a date or time or a set, time set for that to reopen for the public use? Not the marina at part, but just the public side. And also, update on the gymnasium.
Again, we want to ask the city manager, if he could, to include those two items in his report to give you an update.
And can we, I know at one point we were talking about keeping things like that on the agenda, so we can have periodic updates, or we can bring it up. That's what I was looking for. Just some updates, so.
Well, the only thing that was continuous, that was going to be on the agenda continuously was the marina.
Yeah.
But
So
gym
when we
and all
say-
that.
We say marina, we just talking one aspect, but I don't know if that, the picnic area.
I was just telling you what
Leases.
the general consensus was from my recollection.
Okay.
But I mean, it can be.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. In addition to comments, cards.
No, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes. We have various minutes here. Minutes of November 12, 2019, workshop minutes, November 12, 2019, special meeting minutes, November 12, 2019, regular schedule commission meeting minutes, November 26, 2019, workshop minutes, November 26, 2019, regular schedule commission meetings, December 10th, 2019, workshop minutes, December 10th, 2019, regular schedule commission meeting minutes. What's your pleasure, City Commission?
Mayor, before we do that, I know we cannot approve the one for November the 26th. I think that's the one that's in question about the
No, it's December 10th.
December 10th,
Yeah.
sorry, December 10th. So I would like to make a motion to approve November the 12th, 2019 workshop and special meeting and regular meeting, November 26th, 2019 regular workshop and regular commission meeting with the exceptions of December 10th and workshop and regular meeting.
Since there's only one item, could you amend that motion to include that we would approve the minutes of December 10th with the condition that if that language need to be changed pertaining to the trash pickup, we can adjust that.
So I make a motion to accept the proof of the minutes, November the 12th, 26th, and 10, with the exception that we have to change the wording in December the 10th meeting regarding the trash pickup.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. Can I ask this question to legal? Is it proper, according to parliamentary procedures, that one can accept minutes with any corrections?
It would be better if you brought it back. You could make a motion like that, but it would be better if you brought it back to the extent that there are changes. And I'd also suggest, Mr. Mayor, if you would, and I know it's more cumbersome, but if you would take each of the minutes and workshop minutes individually and have a just rapid succession vote on all of them that you want to accept. That way it's clear.
So to make sure I'm clear in understanding what you're saying, it's better not to approve the December 10th minutes with language of with necessary corrections,
Until
but
you've
bring
seen it.
it back so that until those corrections are properly identified.
That would be the better.
All right,
way
thank
to
you,
do it.
legal.
Yes,
Even when there was just one item that may be in question?
it would be.
All right.
Yes.
So I make a motion to accept November the 12th, 2019 workshop and special meeting and regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
Okay. And just for additional guidance, what was that recommendation you was giving me? Because I was reading all the minutes and having them voted on all at once. You're saying we shouldn't do that?
Individually.
Yes, I think you should do them individually.
Okay.
one at a time.
Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to reverse this and do,
I made the motion.
you made the motion?
Second. For
Okay.
November 12th.
Okay. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Citizens up front, I know you're whispering, and I appreciate your concerns and respect, but it's causing, my attention is kind of directed toward your conversation. If you can minimize that, it would be helpful. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have no consent agenda items, no ordinance.
We need to do November 26th, Mayor.
Yeah.
November 26th?
Yeah, we didn't do, we only did November the 12th, so I make a motion to accept the regular workshop meetings, minutes, and regular scheduled commission meeting for November the 26th.
Okay. Could I get a second?
Second.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Bowden that we'll accept the November 12th, 2018 special meeting minutes. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. I now entertain a motion for the November 12th regular scheduled commission meeting.
We did go. We did go.
You did?
Then we did all them
You did the
12s at once?
special and the,
Yes.
I thought we were doing them individually.
Oh.
No, we did November the 12th together, and then we did November 26th separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that how you meant do it? Or you meant do each?
I meant each one, but
Oh,
it's not fatal. It just makes being able to go back and understand what you did in your minutes easier to decipher.
Okay, Vice Mayor, we're going to try to follow that guidance and instruction. If we could, let's do each of these minutes individual. Let's not lump any into one, even though they both may be in November.
Even though we don't
Well,
vote on it?
can we do this, Mayor? I mean, she said it's not fatal. Is it okay if we take this as a learning curve and just move forward?
It's totally up to you all.
Or because I'm trying to understand, Mayor, you saying go back to the
I'm just
first
trying to
date?
follow the city attorney advice. I mean, I agree with you. I think we probably should, and maybe at the next following commission meeting, follow that instruction to do it on an individual basis. 'Cause I'm thinking it's, I don't know.
Okay.
Mayor, Commission, help you out here a little bit.
Lord, put a watch over my mouth.
Once our new website gets back up and we start posting our commission meetings from 6 till 9 o'clock, that is your official minutes because they'll be posted January through December. And once it's fully back up and operating, most cities now ask the city clerk to do the action minutes, meaning if you vote on something, that's what she records physically and writes. But the entire minutes, the actual discussions, which is the lengthy part of all the meetings, most cities refer you to their posted videos for minutes now. It significantly has reduced the writing time for the city clerks, and it's more efficient once it's posted within 48 hours. That's where we're moving. And so hopefully, not tonight, of course, but hopefully you won't be seeing a buck of minutes in paper. It'll just be you're voting to approve your minutes via video, which should be posted to your online site. It significantly reduces anyone asking for minutes moving forward because the actual entire video will be posted on site. Most cities are doing that. Like example, South Bay, city clerk does action minutes only, but if you want actually discussions of what happened, you have to go to the video posted online to get those actual conversations. At least that's what was
Okay.
referred
Are
to.
those
Mr.
videos,
Mayor?
At least that's what was told.
city manager,
the-
are
the-
those
So-
videos, are they edited or are they just?
No, they're
live
not
streamed?
edited. It's reducing all of the writing of
Yeah.
the city
Okay.
clerk. and
long as they're
giving
not
you
edited.
50 pieces of paper with written minutes on it. They're referring to that.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what the manager's talking about, but the Sunshine Law does require that you record minutes. And so right now, you're voting on your minutes. The only reason why I'm suggesting that you do it individually is because it's different from the next item, which is your consent agenda, where you could vote for everything at one time, and it's all in one swoop, because you have here the minutes listed, you know, each one of them, there's no real way for you to vote in one swoop for all of it. So that's why I would suggest it's unusual that you would have, you know, things on here like this. Now, I don't know what the manager's talking about, but I'm just telling you, you can't refer to a video, you must have minutes, you must vote on your minutes at every next meeting after the last meeting.
Okay. Vice Mayor, if you would, let's get this done.
Okay, we start again. I'd like to make a motion to accept November the 12th, 2019 workshop minutes.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Everett, for the acceptance of November the 12th workshop minutes. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Motion passes. Unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer a motion that we accept November 12th, 2019 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Everett, properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept November the 12th, 2019 regular scheduled commission meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Everett, second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for questions. Hearing none. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept November 26th, 2019 workshop minutes.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Everett, second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion that we accept November 26th, 2019 regularly scheduled commission meeting minutes.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Everett, properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes.
So, Mayor, I make a motion for December the 10th workshop minutes that we put that on the next agenda, for the next agenda, commission meeting.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Mervin, second by Commissioner Everett. Call for question. Hearing none. Ready for a vote. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners.
Mayor Bab,
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I make a motion that we move the December 10th, 2019 regularly scheduled commission meetings to the next meeting after the corrections made.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Bowden, second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Now we'll move on in our agenda. We have no consent agenda items, no ordinance. We do have three resolutions. First resolution, Resolution 2020-01.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, approving and adopting the 2020 revised Palm Beach County Local Mitigation Strategy Plan, a summary of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief report?
The local mitigation strategy for Palm Beach County is a plan that provides that the city, all cities in the county comply with FEMA as far as our ability to apply for funding in case of natural disasters. It also says that we should also be willing to adjust our policies and ordinances as far as global climate changes, et cetera. But it's more so for protecting municipalities and conforming with FEMA standards for applying for additional funding for natural disasters. Every city adopts that they agree with the local mitigation strategy that the county has in place for the entire county. So we're just complying with what the county has set up via the federal government when it comes to natural disasters. It gives us an opportunity to say, hey, we're part of the group, and if something happens in the city of Pahokee, we can apply for state funds, federal funds, specifically if the president declares a natural disaster or the governor of the state declares a natural disaster.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, City Attorney. City Commission having had Resolution 2020-01 properly read into the minutes and properly explained by our City Manager. What's your pleasure?
I make a motion to accept Resolution 2020-01.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Vice Mayor Mervin and properly seconded by Commissioner Bowden that we accept Resolution 2020-01. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passes by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to Resolution 2020-02. City Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, amending Resolution 2019-50, approving the donation of 3 properties described in Exhibit A to Habitat for Humanity of Palm Beach County, Inc., authorizing the city manager to execute the deeds required to donate the properties, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Manager could give us a brief explanation.
Yes, sir. Habitat for Humanity they've been very successful in building homes for families around the county, and they came to us a couple of months ago requesting that we donate 3 lots to Habitat for Humanity for building of single-family homes. One of the lots on Barfield had some issues with the 2 adjacent residents to the north and the south. We ultimately collectively decided that it wasn't a lot that was prudent to build a home on. So we offered them a different lot on 275 Begonia Drive, about a half a block up from City Hall, and they agreed that this was more of a sufficient lot to build a single-family home on. So we're just switching lots out for that particular. We're switching one lot for another.
Thank you, City Manager.
Then that's 275 Begonia Drive. We demolished a house that was there previously. So it'd be a welcome sight to see a nice new home on that street.
Thank you. City Commissioners, having had Resolution 2020-02 properly read into the minutes by our City Attorney and properly explained by our City Manager, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we pass Resolution 2020-02.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Boland and properly seconded by Commissioner Everett for the adoption of Resolution 2020-02. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk.
I just wanted, while we have the representative here, I wanted to inquire what would be, a draft timeline of some of this construction beginning? Do you have that idea right now?
I don't have it tonight. I have the project schedule on 2 of them that I can email you tomorrow. And the project schedule on the Begonia property, I don't have it yet, but I can email it when I get it to you.
Thank you.
When I get it.
I have one quick question for you. Can we participate in helping build it?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you'll email us and let us know when?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And have you already selected a family for the 3 properties?
No.
Not yet, thank you.
That process, if I can speak.
Can you come?
Actually, there are two organizations. I'm with Habitat Housing Solutions, and I acquire federal funds to build. And so far, we have close to 400,000 to build. Two of the properties are included in that, and we're going in right now for 1.2 million to add building here in the Glades. We opened Habitat for Humanity. We're partners, and we're together. Habitat for Humanity opened an office. The grand opening was just this afternoon in Belglade, and they are going to do the education out there, and they're going to accept the applications. They have, I believe, 3 families selected for the Glades, but I believe those are in Belglade. And they are accepting applications, and will go through the complete process, and I'm not sure where they are in the process. In that office, the families will be selected and educated there, so we very soon will have families. We don't normally break ground until we have the family selected, but when we have the funds and can move forward and we're in the process, sometimes the family comes a little bit later, but since the family builds on their own home, it's imperative that we get them selected. So we're in that process. It's application, and then it'll go into education, and then the family will select their lots.
Right. Mayor, I don't want to hold her up, but those families that are applying now, they are Pahokee families.
There are
Right.
Pahokee families.
Okay.
There are South Bay families, and there are Belglade families. And there are actually some families that are currently living in Wellington and that work out here and want to be out here. So there's a combination.
Is there a precedence if the family is already living here and in the city, or do they, if they from Belglade, you put them in Pahokee? Is there a precedence that if they're Pahokee residents already, do they get some opportunities to?
They get the opportunity through the application session, and when they finish the applications, and the applications are taken in Pahokee as well as the others, when the applications are processed and the family starts the education process and gets, I believe it's 100 hours, the family selects the lot. So Pahokee families applying that want to live in Pahokee would naturally select the Pahokee lot. There isn't a priority. We have to abide by fair housing, and so we can't just say, okay, these lots, we have to apply for Pahokee. What if we don't get enough applications from Pahokee? So we're taking applications for the Glades, but the family is who will choose to live in Pahokee. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
If you, well, I can't speak to that. I was going to say, if you required us to select Pahokee families, I can check and get back with you and see if we can do that. But I think you're bringing people that want to live in Pahokee into Pahokee. And yes, man, if there's a family in Pahokee that goes through the application process, great. And maybe perhaps we can talk about more properties in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to Resolution 2020-03, City Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, approving the attached employment agreement between the City of Pahokee and Chandler Williamson, providing for conflict, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, a point of order. I thought we were going to allow the census presentation to go, and then we were going to go into 2020-03.
That's what you said a while ago, right?
Okay. We can do that if that's what the agreement was. We'll now have the census presentation, if you would.
It's a proclamation for the census.
Okay.
It's a
You have a
proclamation, but,
yeah,
yeah, it's a proclamation.
Okay.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
you want to speak on it,
Now,
Yes.
let's
Yeah.
do the proclamation.
Yeah.
And if she have a quick comment, that's fine. We got a lengthy agenda. We'll have our city attorney read the proclamation.
Proclamation partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau to help ensure an accurate count for the city of Pahokee. Whereas the U.S. Census Bureau is required by the U.S. Constitution to conduct a count of the population and provide a historic opportunity to help shape the foundation of our society and play an active role in American democracy. And whereas the city of Pahokee is committed to helping to ensure every resident is counted, and whereas the federal and state funding is allocated to communities and decisions are made on matters of national and local importance based in part on census data and housing, and whereas census data helps determine how many seats each state will have in the U.S. House of Representatives, and is necessary for an accurate and fair redistricting of state legislative seats, county, city councils, and voting districts. And whereas the information from the 2020 Census and American Community Survey are vital tools for economic development and increased employment, and whereas the information collected by the census is confidential and protected by law, and whereas a united voice from business, government, community-based, and faith-based organizations, educators, media, and others will enable the 2020 census message to reach more of our citizens. Now therefore, the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida hereby proclaims the City of Pahokee is committed to partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau and will, 1, share the importance of the 2020 census with the City of Pahokee residents, 2, encourage all residents to participate in events and initiatives that will raise an overall awareness of the 2020 census and increase participation. 3, encourage all residents to respond to the 2020 census when they receive the information. 4, support census takers as they help our community complete an accurate count. And 5, promote the availability of census jobs in the city of Pahokee. Done this day, this 28th day of January 28th, 2020. And the City of Commission members, including Mayor Keith Babb, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Regina Boland, Commissioner Benny Everett, and Commissioner Felicia Hill, who is not here tonight.
Commissioners, if you would join me down on the podium so we can present this proclamation.
I don't know, was I supposed to? Oh, really? You should have told me. Oh, okay.
To the representatives of the United States Census Bureau, on behalf of the Pahokee City Commission, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Regina Boland, Commissioner Benny Everett III, Commissioner Felicia Hill in her absence, along with our city manager and our entire city staff, and along with our entire city and our community, we are delighted and happy to partner with the United States Census and present you as a representative this proclamation of our commitment to work with you so we can count every single citizen and resident of the city of Pahokee.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the city of Pahokee. Thank you so much to the city of Pahokee, to you, City Mayor, and all of the commission. We appreciate the partnership because we need the partnership. It is so important to count everybody here. That is so important. We appreciate it from our office, our regional office in Atlanta, and our main office in Washington, D.C. I will be taking this back, and it will sit among all the other proclamations for each city. They call it a proclamation hall in Washington where this will sit, and we do thank you for your partnership.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor Bab, if, I know probably was an oversight on my behalf, because, when we were doing, add deletions and approval, if we can also move up the lawn of the month? If they're here?
They're here.
Okay.
Okay, if we could move up the lawn of the month?
We'll accept that as a motion. Could I get a second?
Second.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin and properly second by Commissioner Bowden that we move up our Learn of the Month winners in our agenda order to now. Call for questions. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin?
Yes.
Commissioner Boland?
Yes.
Commissioner Everett?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. At this time, we will present our Lawn of the Month winners, and we'll have our city manager give a brief presentation on the winners.
Thank you, Mayor. Each month, we take an opportunity to recognize a homeowner here in the city of Pahokee who have gone above and beyond to maintain their lawn, the grass around their home, including sometimes they added some additional aesthetics as well as for external renovations. But typically, the lawn of the month is the house with the best lawn in the city of Pahokee. And we put a nice sign in their yard for about 30 days saying this is the lawn of the month. And we do that to encourage other residents to get involved on their street and manicure their lawns and get involved with ensuring that the value of their properties are maintained, not just at that individual home and not your adjacent homes, but that entire street. And then eventually that kind of blossoms into the entire city. We've been doing this, Mayor, I think, what, 2 years now? 3 years actually now, going on 4 years. And it's very successful. The residents really enjoy having that sign in their yard for 30 days. You know, it creates a little competition among many of their residents. We even have people coming to City Hall complaining because we don't come to their street often enough and put the sign in their yard or on their street. It's just so many yards to choose from because we have some really beautiful lawns here in Pahokee, especially when the grass is blooming, you know, and it's not in these cold months. But this month it's the Walkers. Do we have the picture? Audio for this one? No picture. I wanted to see that picture because I saw it in City Hall, and I wanted to talk a little bit about their lawn because not only did they maintain the lawn, but they did a little external work to the entryway of that home as well. And so they may be in the running for Mayor Babb's Gold Hamlin Nail Award. It's a larger award with a larger sign that sits in your yard for 90 days saying thank you for contributing to the external renovations to your home, because that also increases value. So you're in the running for that as well, Mr. and Mrs. Walker. But tonight, congratulations, you're the lawn of the month for January.
If the
Where's
commission,
the home located?
Southwest 14th Street,
Oh, okay.
Southwest 14th Street going off Bacon Point Road. Got my map right.
if the commission would join me down. Mr. and Mrs. Stephen J. Walker. On behalf of the Pahokee City Commission, Vice Mayor Clara Mervin, Commissioner Ben Everett III, Commissioner Regina Boland, Commissioner Felicia Hill in her absence, along with our city manager and our entire city staff and community. We congratulate you on being Lawn of the Month. We know the hard work you put into your lawn, and not only is your lawn increasing your home value, it helps the community value go up because of the attractiveness of your lawn. We thank you. We appreciate all the effort. We do have one error. They have Stephen J. Walker on this check, and we know their wife always handles the money. So pardon our error for that. We only ask that you consider spending this money in the city of Pahokee so our business will flourish. But again, we thank you and we congratulate you on this. And I'll allow Regina, our commissioner, to actually present the check to you. Oh, and we have a certificate too. We'll have our pastor, Everett, present the certificate.
I'd much rather give the money than the certificate, so. Nina? No? What part of Nina did you? Nina? There you go. Congratulations. Yeah, right.
And it reads, Lawn of the Month. This certificate is awarded to Stephen J. Walker and Nina G. Walker, 2553 Southwest 14th Street, Pahokee, Florida, 33476, in recognition of beautifying the community, presented this 28th day of January 2020. Mayor Keith W. Bath Jr., Commissioner Regina Boland, Commissioner Felicia C. Hill, Vice Mayor Clara M. Mervin, Commissioner Ben L. Everett III, and our City Manager Chandler F. Williamson. We'll give you the certificate.
We'll take a quick photo op and we'll allow them to say a few words if they like.
The only thing I want to say, I guess, is we went from being the ugliest house on the street to probably the nicest one. Some people down the street got Lawn of the Month, and I told her, it was about a year ago, I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we got that? And it was a nice surprise when we got home to have the sign in the yard, so we really do appreciate it.
I knew that was contagious. Especially on your block or your street, the next door neighbor saying, we can do that, we can do it.
To be honest and completely fair, we were a really ugly house. Last January, we got a ticket from code enforcement that our house needed to be painted. So when we saw that someone from the city was coming back this month, we're like, crap, what did we do now? So it was a pleasant surprise, but I actually grew up on 14th Street. I'm almost 34 years old. I've lived on that street my entire life. And in the 60s and 70s, that house belonged to my grandmother, and she had the prettiest lawn in Pahokee. So for us to be able to continue and carry on that tradition is pretty awesome. And I know I'm getting the money, but he actually did all the work.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, the reason why the picture wasn't up, that we have a Wi-Fi issue in the building, and that's why they couldn't post the picture this evening. But maybe at the next meeting, I'll also email it to. It's a nice house. It's a really gorgeous house out on the exterior. They've done a really great job. So code enforcement won't be coming back over there anytime soon.
Again, congratulations. That's one of the highlights of our regular commission meeting, to be able to present the Lawn of the Month to residents who have worked hard to improve their property. Okay, so we're going to move back now. According to our agenda, we own the resolution 2020-03. City Attorney.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, approving the attached employment agreement between the City of Pahokee and Chandler Williamson, providing for conflict, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Normally, I have the city manager kind of give us a brief history, but I'll continue with that trend. Let him give us a little history of what happened in here, why the new contract and the procedure following.
Okay. This is the city manager's contract up for renewal for this year. We've gone through a lot in the workshop as far as some of the items that we wanted deleted. The mayor indicated that he was pretty much he's settled with just bringing in all of the language from the previous contract, minus the salary. We also deleted the 100,000, where we will be taking out the vehicle. Let me get to that section here. Section 8D, we'll be deleting that as well. And I guess getting a consensus on everything else as it concerns. Oh, I'm sorry, go back up to section 3. There was a discussion about needing 4 votes, supermajority for without cause, as well indicated by Commissioner Boland. And I think we ended that conversation with those 2 items being discussed there, along with working out some type of plan to adjust the vacation. No, understanding that there's about 600 hours now. We want to cap it at 400 hours. I actually wanted 500. So, but we'll continue that discussion at this time.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. City Commissioners, as you're aware, we did discuss preliminary this at our workshop. We need to now kind of conclude in the discussion of the city manager contract. My recommendation earlier was to continue with his previous contract with the exception of the salary. I feel that we need to make some adjustment on his salary, but it's up to the commission. That was just a mayor recommendation, so we can move forward and try to get this behind us. These things are like any other item for the city. It's open to the public for their notice of how we're deliberating and what we're doing to reach our decisions. So at this time, I would ask, are there any recommendation from the commission for any more adjustment outside of what the mayor has suggested? And again, we have to talk about the cap, in which we did come to a consensus that we would like it to be capped at 400 hours. And since the city manager does have about 600 hours, how we were able to assist them in getting that down to the cap level. One of the ways would be normally he received additional vacation days at his anniversary date. That need to be a consideration. If we do that, then his vacation days would now go from 600 to approximately 700 or more. So those things we got to take in consideration. I'm gonna start with Vice Mayor and ask if there are any recommendation outside of my preliminary recommendation to continue with his present contract with the exception of the salary. And then once we pass that, we want to start now to take a look at his salary and see what the recommendation for his increase would be.
Remember, we discussed it in the workshop, so I think, let's go and just I would like to just make a motion just to keep the contract as is, and let's, discuss as far as the capping of the vacation and sick time and the salary as you stated earlier.
If there are no objection to that, would entertain a second.
Now, well, I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor by Vice Mayor Mervin and a proper second by Commissioner Everett. Now we'll call for questions.
I got a question. not a question, but a comment. Now, in saying let's keep it the same, only address the salary. Now, keeping it the same will not cap days.
No, that's an exception, he's saying. We're
That's
gonna
what I
discuss
put
that.
as
Okay.
exception in
All
the
right.
motion.
Okay.
Okay, I have some questions as well. Does that include that we're going to go back to, is his original contract say 3, termination without cause?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
And does it have, now do we do, the city shall bear the full cost of any fidelity or other bonds required by the city manager? Do we do that now?
Yes, that's standard.
Okay. Okay, and on the vacation leave, we were talking about 2 weeks, is that correct? 140 hours is 2 weeks?
That's 80 hours, which is,
But you said you
Amendable.
work 70 hours a week, so that's.
no,
why
I was proposing I could mandate me to take 7 days, vacation hours, and that's, adds up, I think, close to 60 hours. If you wanted me to, and the mayor said, no, let's mandate he take more than that, anywhere from up to 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that's 80 hours.
And then the other thing that we discussed during the workshop was the keeping it at 5% for the retirement, is that correct?
Right, but if you're, but if you're keeping the contract same, that previous contract said 2% additional. So you're saying no
So
to no
that's
additional?
total of
That's a
5.
total of 5. It was
I'm at 5
originally-
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it was
total of
originally at
5.
3. We added additional
Yeah.
2 to make it 5. So
Right.
your current contract saying that you will receive a 5% retirement benefit.
Yeah, well, it's like that now,
Right.
right.
So it
And
was
that's what
8
it would be the same.
Yeah.
We're not increasing it by 3 to bring it to 8. We're gonna keep it at 5 where it's currently is at.
Right.
Not following?
No, I follow you, I disagree
Okay.
with you.
What do you disagree about?
I disagree not increasing it.
Okay,
I know, that's
Yeah,
my
okay,
input, but we
okay.
can keep going.
okay.
Commissioner Boyle, I think it's still on you.
No, I'm good. We're going to discuss the salary, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the questions I have.
So we're all in consensus. I'm not sure if we need to direct or have the city attorney assist in some type of negotiation to get his vacation time in line with the 400 so you don't lose much of it, or how can we grandfather in the amount that he currently have? That's something we would probably need your assistance in kind of working through. You do a lot of employment type of negotiation and contracts in your practice.
I am happy to try.
Okay.
I do have one other question. Are we going to get a copy of his contract now so that we can put it next to this one and compare?
Yeah, the difficulty with that was, there was one contract I was given, I had asked for the contracts, I was given one that did not have a signature, which was the first one, and I was given an amendment, which seemed to be missing the amendment before that amendment. And so what I did was I did what he asked. I tried to come up with what was in the contract before, plus what he wanted, because these are not, like I told you, I didn't author any of this. But what was in the contract before, what I could gather, what was in the amendment, but it looked like it skipped an amendment, so it was very hard to kind of piece everything together. So it would be much easier if you all could decide, and I think you've pretty much done that, but decide what you don't want to see in this agreement, because it's very difficult to figure out how those agreements all go together with something that seems to be missing. So if there's something on this page or in this paper other than what you've already brought up that you don't want to see, then, let me know, because I don't know what I'm missing.
Right, and this correction here, there's nothing missing. On 2015, there was not another contract done until 2017, and that's the one that's actually signed. And then after that, we made attempts to propose amendments, but then there was nothing else done. So there was nothing done in 2016, and there was something done in 2017, then there was nothing done after that. So there was no agreements made during those missing years.
And that may be very true, and I'm sure
Oh, it's true.
I'm sure the manager is correct. But what I see is, let's say I see the initial document, and then if I recall correctly, there's an amendment 2, but I don't know where amendment 1 is. And so, or something like that. Maybe it's amendment 3, and I don't know where amendment 2 is. I looked at it a while ago. But whatever it is, it seemed, there's something in the amendments that I didn't. So I tried to put everything together into a new document for a new contract that you can consider. And so what I'm suggesting is, I heard everything you all said, and I can, we can certainly make the adjustments. I can certainly negotiate with him on your behalf and bring it back, what we've come up with, to try to get him to the vacation cap that you want to see, and how he can, expend those hours and on all of that. But on some of these other things, you may want to give a little bit more guidance for, because they may be things that were not addressed. It's not an exact contract from the other contract, right? So some of the things are different, and most of the things you pointed out, many of the things you pointed out, but there are, a few other things here that.
Such as what?
Well, there's some things that you may want to keep, like if there's an issue about wanting to know what the amount of time he has every year. There in this document, it does require that he does report back to you all every year exactly, what the times are, what he has for leave time, sick, vacation, comp time, and that wasn't in the previous contract.
Yeah.
So that's something that you think you'll want to see.
Yeah, I think we need to have that at least every 6 months. We get a report of his balance in leave, still annually.
So if I understand correctly, then we can't do it based on what his old contract is, because you don't have his old contract. So there's no way we could do it that way. We have to either amend or accept the things in this one. Is that correct?
It would certainly be easier if you would do that. I do have some contracts, but because I have one that's not signed, I don't know whether that was actually passed or not. And I have another one that I don't know whether there was something that was before it. The manager says there was nothing before it. Maybe it's just mislabeled, which is possible. And so what I'm suggesting is, if it would be a lot cleaner if we could have you look through this one, and then let me know. Surely, there are some things in here that the manager's not going to object to. The first page of whereas clauses, that's probably the second page he's not going to object to, the duties and things like that. That's probably a given. But when you get to termination, I heard you about termination. When you get to resignation, I don't think that's going to be controversial. The compensation, is this what you want? You want to keep it at 133? And so you just have to kind of let me know what.
Well, that's one of the ones we were supposed to be discussing as far as the salary.
Okay, so you're going to discuss that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let me sit back and listen.
So, but what else was there? You saying the resignation, and I know the salary is supposed to be discussed, and I think the rest of it should.
Salary, the retirement, you've already spoken to. The communications equipment, I think is the same as the draft that I saw. You've already addressed 8. It looks like you think everything is fine, but and I don't know, you have to tell me, you think everything is fine, but for item number D under 8, if that's different, let me know. The insurance, I think I heard that you want to keep that the same, and you're fine with that. The disability, I'm assuming you want to keep that the same. If not, we would need to discuss it. The general professional development, you need to look at that and let me know if you want to keep that the same. Bonding, I think you addressed that, and you said you want to keep that the same. And
I think we kind of just, I'm sorry. I think we're just kind of down to the salary and what else, Commissioner Bowler?
I think
The
it
other
was the salary
things
and
that
the
we
time.
discussed, right?
Since you brought up Section 11, General Professional Development, the only thing I would ask to be included in that is a cap of $5,000. Anything that exceeds that should be approved by the city commission.
But Mayor, you have to remember, you already approved a budget for professional travel, conferences,
So why we have that in here?
That's just explaining that you will be applicable to ensuring that whatever you pass in your budget, that is still supported per the contract.
I mean, you can still have that $5,000 cap. That's fine. That doesn't conflict with your budget. If the budget is going up to $15,000, then he'd have to come back for anything over $5,000. So that is up, that's really up to you all.
Where is that at? Where is it?
Yeah.
Or you use language saying not to exceed the budget amount without, which normally gonna happen anyway. Anything have to be amended exceeding his budget amount, it have to be brought back to the commission for approval.
That would be the more appropriate.
Any other items we'll kind of further on that you need a little more clarification from the commission as far as directions?
No, I think I've heard most of it, and the things that are not clear, I think you're going to have to talk about section number 8, of course. I think you said you want to keep 5 the same, and 6 the same at 5%. And I think you said you were going to talk about the section number 5, so.
Section number 5.
No, 6, we're not keeping the same.
That's compensation.
That's
No,
going
you-
up 5%, right?
No, yeah, you said, meaning
It's the same
it
as
is
the
5,
old-
it's
oh, it
5%,
is, oh,
same
now I
as
see what
what
you're
he
saying,
said,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then, yes, sir.
Question. What is a general practice when it comes with one who is terminated without, city manager, who is terminated without cause? With regards to 3 months severance pay and the other remaining sick leave, comp time, and annual leave? Is that a general practice? To get compensated in all 3 categories?
I think it's up to the contract that is negotiated, so they may.
I understand that part, but what I'm saying, I bring a different set of lens to this, and so I guess want to pull on some folk who have more government type lens. How is it done in general with city manager contracts? Are they compensated in all areas, attorney?
Well, many times you will see sick leave, you'll see annual leave. But again, it's all over the board. I mean, I think it's based on what you all negotiate with the manager, and that can vary from city to city.
But that's a standard industry.
Based on my government experience, particularly sick leave is a lesser payout than your vacation. Vacation, you get paid up until the maximum time that is allowable. But for sick leave, say for instance in the county, depending on your longevity or years of service with the county, you may get up to 50% of your sick leave. Someone with lesser tenure may get 25%. I never saw a contract that I'm aware of that pay 100% of sick leave. So I think that's the question that, he was asking based on your experience. Have you kind of noticed that? I know you say that it's based on what we want in there, but on average, It's
Yeah,
normally
And I know,
I'm with all due respect to the commission, I work with Mr. Williamson every day, so I don't want to be in a position where I'm in the middle of, other than those things that you have said that you want me to do. I will tell you what some cities have gotten away from is the comp leave. Whatever you decide to do, I think sick leave things are kind of all over the board. If you had a new person who started, maybe you start doing something, maybe you take that as an opportunity to, kind of start from scratch and do something that might be more in line with what more recent contracts look like. But when you have somebody who's been in a position, you've been doing certain things for a certain period of time, maybe you want to figure out how you can best navigate, keeping that person happy while at the same time doing something that's prudent for the city, which sounds like you're leading in the direction of doing that when you cap at 400 hours or so the vacation. That's prudent. That's something that cities are doing. That's something that county government does. So
and basically I understand each city pretty much has autonomy to do it, I guess, the way they feel is best. The question I was asking was generally, what is a standard practice if possible, if you had that to share, but also in keeping this definitely not an attack on Mr. Williamson from my point of view, but at the end of the day, we need to do what's in the best interest of the city as well, and also understanding that we're relying on you, and this is no indictment on you. We're relying on you because you're negotiating on our behalf. Now, Mr. Williamson wants to enter into negotiations with some areas that he may still find concerning because of our position. He's welcome to bring him an attorney, and we can negotiate that way. But you protect our interests, our legal interests, and our interests as well, right? All right.
Right, and I think I've done
some of that
with the language that you see in here in this contract. But ultimately you have to make hard decisions and decide what you think. If you wanted to curtail certain provisions, then.
But in this termination without cause, it says 100% for all remaining sick leave time. And then termination for cause, it also says 100% for all remaining sick leave.
Well, Commissioner Boland, it's been like that since I've been here.
I don't care.
I understand that, but that's been in my agreement since I've been here. And
I understand, but I haven't read your agreement before, so this is the first time I'm looking at it, and the mayor is saying that at the county, it's 25 and 50%, and then here we are paying 100%.
it depends on each city, each municipality.
To me, that doesn't make sense. If the county is doing 25 and 50, why in the world will we pay 100%?
Again, that's one of the negotiations that's been in my contract for 5 years. We haven't had a problem with it for 5 years. It's
Yeah, but if
what
you
I
terminate
prefer.
somebody for cause, I mean, that says gross negligence and violation, willful violation. You know,
I
it seems to me
understand,
like you
but
shouldn't walk away with a good package if that's what you did, you know, if somebody did that.
I understand,
That's just
but
my personal opinion.
Again, you're talking about a profession of city managers based on the ICMA standards. I don't know if everyone understands that, but when it comes to protecting, you know, city managers, what we negotiate from city to city differs, and this is what we negotiated, and this is, you know, I'm kind of firm on that, to be kind of frank with you in those areas. I can live without the supermajority, but
You're out of order.
those other those other things that have been provided that we have not changed for 5 years, and I'm comfortable with that. I have to hold firm on that as well. And again, that's just for conversation. I know we're gonna.
But I will, and not to have a long conversation about this, but I would think that termination without cause means that, you know, the city commission just decided to say, hey, we want to sever this relationship. But termination for cause, I know when people get fired from jobs, they lose all benefits.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
I understand that, but
termination. But let me finish.
every contract, every job
But
is
Mr.
different.
Williamson, respectfully, I listen to you. Let me finish my thought. But what I'm saying, but with termination for cause, and Mr. Mayor, can we get some control here?
Please.
Thank you. But termination for cause, I can't sit here and not say, I would take an issue with, paying 100% of leave if you're terminated for a willful violation of law, willful disregard of a direct order, demand or policy of the commission, or conduct unbecoming of a public, illegal or habitual drug. I mean, felony, all those things. I mean, that's like paying you to do wrong.
Well, let's look at the language here for a second, because we've had this for 2 months. Without cause, and I settled with no supermajority without cause. We'll keep that 3 votes. And it's 3 months severance, 100% sick and leave. With cause, the next section B, it says not 3 months severance, but down to 1 month severance and 100% sick and leave.
Yeah, but
That's a major difference.
Yeah.
that's, if it's with cause, it's exactly as Commissioner Everett said, then it's something major.
No,
that
that's what I'm
we're-
saying.
We're
With-
doing that, so.
Well, but you
to
also have
even
to look
give you
at,
one-
you're losing
To give
2 months
anyone
severance as
1 month
well.
severance pay and 100% of sick leave, to me, is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's up to personal opinion, and I accept it, but that's just not where I am.
I think the consensus here would be to, part of the negotiation is to work on eliminating this or getting it down to a reasonable amount of time, because I'm also in concurrent with being fired or terminated with cause. You normally lose not only a portion of your benefit, but you normally lose
it
all of your benefit,
Yeah.
including.
If you look at this industry.
I'm gonna let you speak, but you have to let me speak, including retirement. So the majority are not comfortable with compensating someone when it's clearly with cause, and the cause is outlined, and especially depending on the cause that being terminated for. For instance, if you took money from the city and that was verified, I'm just using that as an example, we're not going to compensate you for doing that by any means. So it should be certain areas that, with cause, that you probably wouldn't receive any benefit from the city, and that's just standard. That's a standard practice that I believe. I'm not no expert, not a lawyer, not an employment guru or anything like that, but I would think that would be a standard practice in any business organization. So that's an area, all I'm saying, City Attorney, that's an area we need to at least make some compromise on. I don't think the commission would be comfortable terminate someone with cause and they receive servant pay or benefits from wrongdoing of any kind. How we get there is a different story, but that definitely need to be looked into. And I'm speaking on behalf of the commission, I don't want to speak for anyone, but if that appears to me as a mirror, would be the sense is that is an area that we really need to kind of have the attorney negotiate with. And we can take a look at also other employment contracts out there. There's a lot of city manager got contracts online. I failed to really Google and look at some of them like I normally do, but that can give us a little benchmark also of how we should proceed. Any other areas of clarification we need before we get into the salary discussion? I just want the city attorney to be clear on what we're asking a final contract at least look like, and she'll bring it back at our next commission meeting for approval.
I just want to make sure that the city attorney really, really works on getting what the commission is saying we want, because you work for us and not for him. And so I want to make sure that when you go to negotiating with him, if you're negotiating with him, that.
No, I'm sorry, through the mayor. I recognize that I work for the city, right? But this is a contract for you all to consider, that he's put forth for you to consider. So these are the things that he wants. Now, I am happy to go back with the things that you've asked me to do and speak with the manager and come back and forth, but it is not, this is really, you all have to make the hard decisions on how you're going to treat this contract and what you're going to do. I will try my best, but it's not an issue of whether where my loyalty lies. That's clear. I sit here every other week, and I hope that should be clear. But I just
Okay.
want to.
I'll make it a little easier. We do need to kind of clarify, and that's what I was asking her, if there's any area that we have mentioned that wasn't really clear on the direction we need to go. So what we need to do, Commission, and I know it's a tough, hard type of decision, but we need to look at the termination clause and determine whether or not we are willing to pay out any compensation for being terminated with cause. Now, if you need more time to consider that, I agree with the city attorney. We can't put that pressure on her or that responsibility on her to say, look, you negotiate with him. We need to say yeah or nay. This particular contract calls for some compensation, even if you terminate it with cause. I think that based on the majority or the consensus of the commission, we have some concerns about that. So if any other commission have any recommendation as far as what they want the city attorney to put into the contract as far as being terminated by cause.
So termination with cause, I would say that the person should lose all their benefits and the salary and the sick leave, whatever it is.
Mayor, point.
You're out,
Order.
nothing.
I'll let you speak.
Listen, you really have to understand the industry of a city manager. You have to understand ICMA ethics when it comes to contracts. And when you internalize that, you will find, with or without cause, there are benefits directed to the outgoing city manager. Now, that's the standard in the industry, and I can't get away from that because this is a profession. This is not a fly-by-night profession you're talking about. We have standards in our industry on the ICMA ethics when it comes to contracts, how you negotiate them on behalf of city managers. And it arrives from how this profession has blossomed over the years, whether it be a city manager, council, form of government, strong mayor, council, form of government, or et cetera. Those are where those standards lie. And from me as a profession, in this profession as city managers, we come to this job with an open mind of how we are going to be treated in our contracts with our employer. And when you're looking at with and without cause, and you look across pretty much the industry of the profession that you are discussing tonight, you will find some correlations of why this contract was written by the former legal firm and why it's held firm for 5 years. There's never been a conversation about this in 5 years. In fact, the last contract that we tried to approve, that wasn't an issue. And it goes to the fact that, again, this is a professional industry that you're discussing tonight. And there goes with its standards when it comes to contracts, how we're treated, the benefits that we are entitled in some respects, and others that are granted.
With all due
And so,
respect,
please let me finish. And so,
I thought you were.
I'm not. You're welcome to propose what, as a collective body, what you feel is acceptable. But as a professional city manager, there are just some things that we have to, as managers, provide for protection of ourselves, for the future development of our profession, and as far as compensation goes, what is provided to us just under the standard industry operating as a city manager. So I just wanted to say that. that we have to take into account what we're discussing here when it comes to this contract and how it's being treated versus how it's being, how it's rolled out in the industry itself. But again, I'll continue to listen to the proposal, and we'll just move forward. You know, it may not be no actions, it may not be anything, but it's just, we have to keep that in.
With all due respect to the city manager, I just want to say that I got elected by the people. And if I was sitting in the audience and somebody said up here that this is what they were going to give, I would be very upset. And I don't think this is right. I don't know what this ICMA ethics is.
International.
I understand, but I'm saying, I haven't read it, so I don't know what it says. But if somebody does what's in this Section 3, Paragraph B, I don't believe they ought to get anything. That's my personal opinion, and I think that the 100% in Section 3, Paragraph A, as the mayor said, should be 25 or 50%, and that we should have 3 instead of 4. That's my opinion.
Any additional comments from the commission?
No, I'm good. I think what I would like to do is, I think something that you suggested, Mayor, is kind of study that particular section so that we're fair on our end, but also fair with the city manager, and maybe seeing what other cities are doing in categories of with cause and without cause.
Okay.
But I know I had concerns with time, and I conveyed that concern with the city manager. And, you know, I do appreciate the fact that we have provided some level of provided a cap and some level of accountability with reviewing time used.
Okay, City Attorney, we just have to continue to work with you to give you a little more guidance. As it stands now, there are some concerns with compensating an employee, whether the city manager or anyone, that's terminated with cause, particularly dependent on the cause. If an employee, and I'm gonna use this for lack of a better word, illegally mismanaged or misappropriated or took funds from the city, you wouldn't actually compensate them on their departure, and that's our concern. So we're gonna look at that. Now, one thing or one area where employee does get compensated is the retirement that they actually pay into. You know, we have a match in retirement, and if you pay 3% and that 3% accumulated to $50,000 or $100,000, that's your money because you actually paid into it. But the funds that we actually put in that account, that's a questionable compensation, whether we even will honor that. So that's something I'll start looking at some contracts, trying to give some more guidance, and you know our concerns. So we're just at that stalemate.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may just add this, if, you know, our approach is treating Mr. Williamson as an employee of this, in this city, I don't think in good conscience we would have rewarded an individual who is an employee like Mr. Williamson in another position, 100% compensation, if at any time they were in fact in violation of something that was illegal. And I think we need to understand that he is the city manager, he is the CEO, and he governs the day-to-day operations. But I think, to me, it was just it was concerning, the percentage. But I'm ready now to, I'm in agreement with tabling that portion until the unreadiness is resolved. But I'm ready to go to discuss the salary.
And Mr. Mayor, if you all can give some thought to section number 8, because I think in order to get down to the 400 hours, one of the things, and I'll just say it out loud, that I'll be talking to Mr. Williamson about is maybe he needs to take off, a good bit of time if he can do that. Because if you're giving for vacation leave 140 hours annually, how do you balance that?
I was thinking that,
Yeah.
but I just didn't say it aloud, but I was thinking maybe you could take a day a week or something, and maybe rotate that day a week, so that time could decrease. So maybe start with a Friday and then rotate it to Monday, Tuesday, so it won't be consistently the same day of the week.
We just have to keep in mind, we have to have a time frame for bringing it down to, you don't want that to be extended over 2-3 years, within maybe a 12-month period or a year and a half, whatever is workable, we need to look at that. And you don't want the city to be where it don't have the proper supervision too. So we got to balance that to make sure we do bring that down, but that's a good point, coming up with some type of a plan where we can reduce it. Okay, we're gonna move into probably, and I'm not gonna say the most difficult, but we need to discuss the salary. I'll entertain a motion, or first some comments on where you think the salary should be for the city manager. He's actually proposing an increase of, I think it's about $13,000, up to $133,000.
He's at 118 now?
118. Just doing on a percentage basis, I think a 5% increase would bring him up to approximately $125,000. That's a salary that the city manager in South Bay was awarded recently. Just give you a gauge on that. So I'll again start with our vice mayor, to see if you have any recommendation or any comments in pertaining to the salary.
Remember, I can entertain a motion between 125 to 127.
What percentage is that?
Oh, what percentage? I don't know. What was the percentage? I think it was a 5%.
Yeah, I just used that,
So
doing my calculation.
So let me calculate my percentage. If you remove it. He's 118 now, correct?
Yes,
And you asked for 133,
That
which
puts
is
him
what?
almost at 130.
That's like a 7, that's like 6%.
Okay. We're gonna continue to kind of go a little back and forth. Commissioner Everett, any recommendations?
With what I heard, I'm comfortable with that.
With what?
With what?
With what you just said, y'all in the same meeting I'm in? I mean, the figure was 125 to 127.
Commissioner Bowden?
I don't feel that the city manager deserves a raise at all.
I would, the vice mayor and the other commissioner, Commissioner Everett, has recommended a salary increase from 125 to 127. I go on the low end of that. South Bay City Manager have received a salary of 125. That would be my recommendation, of a salary of 125.
Based on what?
Based on the
South Bay
record.
gives them that?
I'm not questioning what.
Mr. Mayor, can we really have a meeting where we're dialoguing? Because we're getting a lot of feedback from the audience, and they had an opportunity to get a card and to speak at that appropriate time.
Yeah. We're gonna ask the residents in the audience to please eliminate talking. We know this is a sensitive matter. We know you have some own concerns here or there, but please, it's almost like a court proceeding. You don't agree with a lot of things that happen in court, but you have to sit there and listen to both sides, negotiate or talk or whatever without speaking. So if you can do that, we can get out of here. Maximum time being here is 9 o'clock. We want to wrap this up so we don't have to really recontinue this at a later commission meeting. I appreciate that. So we have three, a majority of the commission here, looking at a salary from 125 to 127. I, as a mayor, has an opinion like everyone else. I'm not asking anybody to justify what they say. I could ask Commissioner Boland to justify why she feels he shouldn't get anything. I'm not gonna
Because the
prolong.
average-
I'm not asking that, though.
I know, but the average city manager makes between 95,000 and 105. So we're already way above what the average city manager makes.
Okay, that's your position. I respect that.
Yeah.
If you, I'm not gonna question every thought of every
Oh,
commission,
I thought you
know.
were asking.
Yeah, no, I wasn't asking. I said I
Okay.
could ask that,
Oh.
but I'm not. You asked me what my rationale for recommending the 125. So there we are between 125 and 127. Mine is 125, and I don't think I would go above that if the commission want a consensus. So, what we need to do, Commissioner, is
So you're saying
Give a-
6% increase?
give a figure and see if we can get a second on it and move forward. If we don't get a second, for instance, if you say 127 and we don't get a second on that and a majority vote, then some other commissioner will make a counter offer there and we'll move forward. We can get this done and it shouldn't take that much. It's not but right now it's like a $2,000 different and you haven't really specifically indicated what's the amount. So make a motion on your recommendation and let's see if we can get a consensus on that.
I make a motion that we keep it at 118.
It's, okay. We have a motion on the floor. There's a second. Okay, for like a second, any other commission have a recommendation?
Maybe I'll make a motion for, since you say 125, I'll go 126.
You have a second on that?
Second.
We have a motion by
You agree
Commission.
one time?
We have a motion by Commissioner Vice Mayor Mervin and a second by Commissioner Everett for a salary increase from 118 to 127 for the city manager. Call for questions.
Bring them on.
Hearing none.
Wait, I guess my question is, how are we justifying this? Because you're talking about a 7% or 8% increase.
Well, Commissioner
Mayor,
Bowles.
Mayor, wait, one
Here's
thing,
what- here's-
wait.
We
One thing,
got,
I'm
hold
entitled
up.
to ask.
We
You
have-
ask for questions.
Okay.
That's my question.
Let him make a comment.
No, my comment is, how are we justifying that kind of increase? What South Bay does or does not do, I think we've got enough in common with South Bay, with our lobbyists being the same, our attorney being the same. I don't think what they do with their city manager should have anything to do with what we do with our city manager. And how are we justifying this kind of increase when it's already above what the average is?
I would say,
I
I would
just
like to say
understand.
this. It's not yesterday that our lobbyists became our lobbyists.
No, I understand that.
And it was not too distant of days where the very people that are in the dissenter crowd text me multiple times in one night after a service that we should have negotiated with the city managers, with the city manager a raise. Multiple people. And the reason why multiple persons, and you can pull and puff or whatever, but it's the truth. Multiple people who are now so adamant that he's no good. I got text messages where they were scolding us. Even the marina operator was threatening if Mr. Williamson wasn't satisfied, they were going to go up the road. I got that in writing. But now because we got political upheaval in our community, it's a problem now for Mr. Williamson to get a raise. All I'm going to say, a motion was made, I second it, I agree with it, and I'm not going to have a long discussion as to why I personally voted, as an individual voted for the raise, because we can spend all night nitpicking and talking about, well, he didn't do this or he didn't do that, and so I know me personally. Now, the Vice Mayor and the Mayor can do that, but I'm going to eliminate myself from that discussion, because I know me personally, I'm not going to do it.
Mayor Bab, we made the motion. Call for the vote, please.
In addition to questions, hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
No.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Okay.
That's not it.
Okay, we have no public hearings. We do have several proclamations. Proclamation number one, ratification proclamation in memory of the late Joshua Wilson, city attorney.
Mayor, excuse me.
Mhm.
Are you guys gonna table the actual resolution until the next meeting? We didn't vote on the resolution itself. So
Well,
we're
you
gonna table
can't
it.
vote on it
I can't
because
hear
I
what
know.
you're
you gotta
saying.
go back.
I think you were voting on provisions of the
Negotiate it.
resolution, but I'm assuming you all want to table it until the next meeting?
Correct,
Yes.
right.
And so
Finalize.
you
Right.
should take a vote on tabling the.
Okay.
I assume, Mayor, Commissioner, you want me to be in communication with the city attorney about some of these proposals?
I think that's the only way we can do it.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to table the resolution 2020-03 to the city attorney can work out all the details that we have asked to be included in that particular resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table 2020-03 until the city attorney brings it back to us with the changes or whatever.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bowden and properly seconded by Vice Mayor Mervin that we table resolution 2020-03 until further negotiation from the city attorney and the city manager. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Now we'll move to the proclamation. We have several proclamations. First proclamation is proclamation in memory of the late Joshua Wilson, city attorney.
And I'm assuming, Mr. Mayor, you want all of them?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, for the sake of time, can we just acknowledge them? And we have them on our person.
Okay.
And we're intelligent enough to read them. Can we just acknowledge ratification of proclamation in memory and state the
Okay,
said
we'll
name?
we'll do it as a joint ratification. I'd entertain a motion to that effect, and when, in your
Mr. Mayor, I
motion-
offer a motion that we read proclamations that are up for ratifications in one, in one reading and approved, motion and second.
Okay, give me a motion to outline in each proclamation, and we can move forward.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said.
For the record.
I did. I said, Mr. Mayor, I will offer a motion.
Okay.
That we read the ratification proclamations in one big motion and and for approval. I said that already.
Would you like for me, Mr. Mayor, to read them? Meaning
No,
the
read-
title, the
Yeah,
title,
and
okay.
then just include the name of all.
Okay.
Okay.
The following proclamations are before the commission: a proclamation in memory of the late Joshua Wilson, a proclamation in memory of Mr. Van Buren Jackson, a proclamation in memory of former city manager Lily Lattimore, a proclamation in memory of Hugh Hinton Branch, and a proclamation proclaiming January the 16th, 2020 as Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated Day.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Proclamation was moved by Commissioner Everett and properly seconded by Commissioner Mervin. Call for questions. Hearing none, all in favor by vote. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioner. Motion passed by unanimous vote. We already done the proclamation for the Census Bureau. Now we'll move, we already have did the presentation for the line of the month. Now we'll move to the mayor's report. As you're aware, this is our first meeting for the new year. Happy New Year to everyone, and we're wishing that each of you all have a prosperous new year. Although we are only in the first few weeks of the new year, there have been a lot happening in the city of Pahokee, some good, some bad, some sad. I start with the most recent event. Today, we say goodbye to a Pahokee legend, Hugh H. Branch Sr., 95, of the city of Pahokee, passed away on Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. Mr. Branch was a true pioneer, trailblazer, a hero, a World War II veteran, and a former city commissioner and vice mayor. We ask that you continue to keep him, Mrs. Branch, and the entire Branch family in your thoughts and prayer. On Saturday, January the 20th, we had a great community event held in the city of Pahokee. Thanks to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for hosting the first annual Tri-City Domino Tournament. It was a great turnout and a huge success. There was nonstop fun, games, and entertainment for the entire family. There were blood pressure screening, diabetes checks, hepatitis shot, flu shots. I mean, just a great day. We had a lot of sheriff officers out there, and we just thank them so much for putting on a wonderful event. The Domino Tournament had a grand prize of $200 for the winner, $150 for the second prize winner, $100 for the third prize winner, and $50 for the fourth place winner. They also received trophies and other gifts. There was a lot of raffles, so I mean, a lot of folks were talking about this event, and hopefully it will be an annual event. And I thank the Sheriff's Office for choosing Pahokee as the first city to put on this event in this particular year. Also on Sunday, January the 19th, 2020, my wife and myself participated in the South Florida Fair annual Mayor's Parade. That was a great event, and it gave the city of Pahokee some exposure on a countywide basis. On Saturday, January the 18th, 2020, the city of Pahokee hosted the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade and Extravaganza. It was a huge success, and the special guest speaker was the mayor for the county of Broward, Dale Holiness. Did a great job. We also gave special presentation to the Pahokee High School football team, which was the 2019 Muck Bowl champion, and went deep in the state playoff. Only came one game short of playing for the state title. So we recognized them, and it was a great event on that day. And lastly, the majority of this commission went to Tallahassee for Palm Beach County Day, a great event, thanks to our city manager, knowing the ropes in Tallahassee, thanks to our lobbyists who set up appointments with several state legislators. As you're aware, we are in a legislative year. We have requested funding for 4 different projects within the city of Pahokee. We're comfortable we should receive some funding. We requested funding for the community center / emergency center, which is a gym. We request funding for our marina continuation of improvement there. We request funding for the Martin Luther King Park renovation, and one other one that
Stormwater improvements on First Street.
stormwater improvements. So I know that Representative Pahokee is sponsoring one of the bills. So it takes a lot of lobbying, following up on those bills that they proceed into the legislation. So again, I think we're doing a great job in that area, and I think the city will continue to move forward. So thank you. Now we'll move into our city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Commission, residents who are still here with us tonight. Just to follow up on some legislative items, our MLK legislative request has made it into the House budget, which means it's a placeholder now. But that's a good accomplishment because they're now at the point of deleting out legislative requests that cities and counties have put in. And so far, this one has made it into the House budget, and they'll continue to build their budget over the next several weeks until they go into conference. So far, the MLK has made it into the House side of the budget. It'd be great if it made it into the Senate side as well, but that's the first project that has shown some additional life since we've left Tallahassee. That's a good thing. Then we'll hear more about the other projects as the weeks come in and they continue to conference back and forth with all the legislative projects across the state. So that's the first one that's made it into one of the chambers' budget, and it's the House, and it's MLK. That amount was $660,000. No, am I right, Mayor? 5? Yeah, 6. Yeah, for MLK renovations. There was a question about Pahokee Marina Park opening back up. We anticipate, now that we have all of the utilities back operating, and we put some additional night safety lights out there. It won't be open late at night, but we want to ensure that all our utilities were hooked up and operating. That's been completed by FP&L. We need to install all of our picnic benches on the larger pavilions. We'll be registering these pavilions, Pavilion 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 3 being the smaller pavilions, which anyone can utilize. Those large pavilions, as you know, typically cities, you must rent those out to have a picnic, etc. So we're trying to, ensure that we have the right policies in place for that, because they're large pavilions for renting. You can still utilize them if it's just you and your family, but when it goes beyond the prescribed number of social gathering that we instilled at MLK Park, you have to actually rent it. We have the picnic benches that were built by West Tech students. We've had them not in storage. We've been treating the wood before we release them to the pavilion. We're going to ensure that they're bolted down as well. As soon as we get those benches in place, we got some more signage we have to install, and that signage is more of the times the park will be operating, which is dusk to dawn, of course, 8 to 8. Some do not litter signs, some additional trash cans out there as well. Then we'll be opening that park back up in the next several weeks. I know that was a question that was proposed in the comments by Mr. Crawford. So
Do we have a bathroom up there on that north end, or are we gonna put in some porta potties or
no, that's
something?
we got a new restroom up there.
Okay,
Mr.
it's,
Bowling.
the
Yeah.
restroom's open and,
It's we remember we had in phase 2 we had to hook up the sewer line.
okay.
So that's been hooked up, that's operating, and so we're just, the incidentals, the picnic tables, the trash cans, some additional signage, and how we're going to manage that part. I thought about hiring a park ranger, part-time park ranger that can open the gates in the morning time, close them at 8 o'clock, in that position to be on the Parks and Recs. But right now, I think I'll just allow my late night staff that's here to 8, lock the gates over at that part, because that's the part that, because of the location, has to actually, you have to ensure it's locked down at 8 o'clock. Typically, before we got rid of the Pahokee Police Station, they would lock the gates out there. Then all the gates were removed subsequently, and then, of course, Pahokee Police turned into PVSO. But just some more incidentals that we have to do on the north side, and then we'll open it back up. It's ready now. Just some more signage, picnic benches, and just putting someone in place to open and close, and then we'll be ready. So a couple more weeks.
Can we definitely be, and not accusing the city of not being, but can we be very intentional in ensuring that that public side is open for community enjoyment? And this is not an indictment on the city, but, you know, there has been times, and I understand Mother Nature and all, that dates have been given or a time frame has been given, and it's been pushed back a couple times. But can we be a little deliberate, because that marina, you know, I know a lot of emphasis has been put on one end, but that public end has been near and dear ever since I was a little boy. Some of us who did attend the rec program would go on that north end before the Gators got bad, and treat it like a little beach. You know, we would swim there. I wouldn't advise that, but if we could be a little intentional with that.
Yeah, we're moving as quickly as possible. If I had to put a date on it, I'd certainly say by the end of February it's going to open for sure. So just a couple more weeks. Again, we've ordered some more signage that we forgot about that we need to have in place, because we don't want citizens going up there and saying, "Hey, I didn't know we closed at 8 p.m." Well, we want to make sure those signage are very visible, and there are, you know, proper containers out there, et cetera. As Commissioner Bowler mentioned, the restrooms are ready to go, and then of course we got to build a schedule for cleaning that as well, because that's an additional restroom responsibility that we didn't have before for staff, and so we got to put all that in place. But it's very close to opening up, and hopefully, you know, by the end of February it'll be completely open. There's another question about the gymnasium. We at the mercy of the city. At the mercy of Palm Beach County. They're going to pass that final resolution to get started on that construction in February, and we all knew that since last year. They said they weren't going to take it to the county commission until February. So that project is a county project, and we're waiting for them to get started. There's an additional renovation that's happened here at the football field, but I'm going to need to hold off until we get everything in place fiscally. We do have a private donor working with us to complete that renovation, and so that is moving forward. We got to confirm one project. Well, I'm getting quotes for one prerequisite for the project, and then once I provide that quote to the benefactor, his organization will be moving forward with additional renovations at the football field. As far as development of staff, I've started doing something unique with my directors. We're taking one day out of the week, every other week, and we're doing these leadership development sessions. I'm actually facilitating them with my staff. We take about an hour and a half, and we're going over the 17 laws of leadership, 17 laws of teamwork to increase our professional development for our senior staff. This is something different that I'm trying to do in 2020 to prepare others that work in the city of Pahokee to increase their leadership capabilities for the city of Pahokee. They've liked it so far, but I may pull the mayor in so you can view it one of these days to see how I facilitate them. But it's been received very well by the directors so far. That's it for me, Mayor, Commission. I don't want to get long-winded tonight. But,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
We'll move to the report of the city attorney.
Depending on whether or not the commission is interested, I would like to share with you all and I think many of you already get this through the Palm Beach Ethics, Commission on Ethics, and you go to the various trainings because I hear you talk about it. But if you are interested, we could take some time for a workshop and show their video. We could also do some Sunshine Public Records training. If you are interested and you're in need of hours, we could do it here locally. But if you get it other places, that's fine too. But I just wanted to throw it out there as something that you can consider, and I'd be happy to help facilitate that training.
Oh, yes.
City Attorney, that's a good idea.
Former attorney did something like that. I think he brought in 2 persons to lead.
Thank you.
Do you need to make a motion to have that now? or what?
That's not necessary. I'll just work with the manager and set up a time.
Okay. That concludes your report.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. We don't have any old business, no new business. Future agenda items of the commission, if any. Vice Mayor Mervin, you have any agenda items you would like to have added to the commission meeting?
No, sir, because we already got the contract on there, so that was it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Everett.
Yes, committees, preferably, for example, to speak to MLK and other city-sponsored activities. How can we, just had some citizens' concerns, and if we can just put that on for discussion.
Okay. Commissioner Boland.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's next commission meeting or if we need to do something before then, the IG report that we all received.
Okay. I mean,
Don't we have to respond to that
Yeah,
before
the-
February 3rd?
the IG report we do, publicly, we cannot discuss it until the final report comes out, so.
Right.
But if we're gonna give some direction on, normally the city manager respond to that report. I was even thinking in addition to that, maybe the city attorney can give some response to it, but.
Mayor, the city has responded to that review and recommendations that they provided, and they gave us an additional 7 days till mid-February to provide them our response. And so.
So after
that's
we
where
get
we're at.
our
we have a-
response, we're gonna, once the report is final, we'll definitely have that on the agenda so it can be discussed if need to.
Okay. Are we going to get a copy of the response that was sent?
Well, I haven't sent one yet.
Oh, I thought you said you were sending
22
one.
pages, I got a lot to say. So we're building a response, which is why I needed additional time. Yeah.
So the
Okay.
response you're saying is just for the extension?
No, we have an extension. You have to
That's what I'm saying, that's the
mid-February.
one, yeah, but she was thinking
Right.
you did the.
No, I didn't do a response. I just,
did
spoke
the
with them
extension.
directly and said, I just need an extension to
So I guess my
respond.
question is, when you do the response, will we get a copy?
Oh,
of
yes,
it?
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those responses will also be included as an addendum attachment to the original report.
Okay.
Whether they agree with his response or not, they will include it in there. Okay. In addition to agenda items. Okay, I move to mine. First Street Grant Renovation Report. I think I asked for that about 3 months ago. I'm just asking if we can get something in writing. That's the renovation in front of the elementary school, that there was some question of where we had to pay the $200,000+ back because that money wasn't expended.
What do you need on that?
I need a report. That need to be followed up. We took over $200,000 out of the budget. I don't know what line item or where it came from in the budget, One time, we indicated we found the money. The second time, we say we hadn't found
Well,
it.
they said they found 140
So
or
all I'm
something,
asking
didn't
is a report. The city finance director says she discovered the discrepancy. I had information that the state discovered it. Whatever information, whatever communication that was made between the city and the state, and however we paid the money back, the amount we paid back, the timeline, you indicated that you wasn't on board. I kind of questioned that, so I just need a report of that. I asked for the commission to receive a report so we can at least have that for our reference.
Sure.
Excuse me, Honorable Mayor. Generally, you guys vote on these items on this portion, so are you guys gonna do the votes?
I can't hear a word she's saying.
She's
I said
saying that generally the items to be added to the agenda need to be in an agreement that we need to vote on it. So we can do that.
Yes, they do. City Attorney?
Yes, in other words, for each one of the items as a future agenda item, if it has a majority vote, then it gets on the agenda.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
how you.
Okay, so the first request that I'm having is the First Street Grant Renovation Report, an update, a status report on the timeline of the, that particular grant. The state of Florida had requested of the city of Pahokee to reimburse them over $200,000 that work expenditure wasn't done on the complete report. So I'm just asking for information, a status report on that. I'll ask the commission, are they in consensus, an agreement with that being a report to the commission to be added on the agenda? It's been moved by Commissioner Everett.
I would like to offer a motion. You're speaking to East,
West Main,
West,
First
Main
Street.
Street?
It's First Street,
First. I would like to
Out there
offer a
in front of the school?
motion.
yeah.
Is that First Street in front of the
Barack
school?
Obama.
No,
No, which one are you talking about?
Right in front of the
East Main Place.
East Main Place.
East
Okay.
Main Place.
I would like to offer
yeah.
a motion that we are provided with documentation showing pavement and where the pavement came from with regards to East Main Street, East Main Place.
Second?
It had been moved by Commissioner Everett and proper second by Commissioner Bolden that we be provided with a report pertaining to the East Main project renovation. Call for question. Hearing none, all in favor? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett?
Yes?
Commissioner Boland?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin? Yes. Mayor Bab?
Yes. The second request for agenda item is the introduction of new employees of the city of Pahokee to the city commission on a regular basis as soon as possible. The policy state that the commission should be introducing new employees. I'm not sure how many new employees we had in the last 6 months, but I can't be recalled in being introduced to any of them. So I would like that added on the agenda. I would like to entertain a motion for that effect.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer a motion that all new hires be introduced to the commission in a commission meeting at a very reasonable time.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin that we have an introduction of the new employees at a reasonable time.
Question.
Yes.
Could we state with a little bit more specificity that if they're hired prior to the upcoming commission meeting, that we could kind of stipulate maybe the upcoming commission meeting no later than 2 commission meetings upon hire?
Mr.
Well,
Mayor.
who y'all
through-
talking about?
Mr. Mayor, this is, just as a reminder through the mayor, Commissioner Everett, this is just so that you put it on as a future agenda item, and then at that meeting, you'll
I was saying
discuss.
being specific with so I don't need to be specific with the motion at this time, okay?
Right, you'll discuss it.
I got you.
What if we don't have anyone?
No one.
Oh, okay.
introduced, yeah.
Bring them in.
Right.
Aren't anticipating.
Okay. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. And my next agenda item would be to have an update status on the reopening of our website, to get a timeline on when that can be expected, a lot of
Mayor,
relative.
that don't need to be an agenda item. I can tell you that now. Hopefully in about 2 weeks, that website will be done. That don't need to be an agenda item. About 2 weeks.
Are we satisfied with that? Good?
I mean, we're at the mercy of the web developers, pretty much. They're doing over 100 cities. So what I'm saying, in about 2 weeks, that website will be up.
Okay. This may or may not need to be added, but I think it's important, the status update on the marina. We need to know what our responsibility now moving forward, just some status on that, where we are on that. Whether we need
I can
to.
do that right now, too.
Huh?
I can do that right now. A draft, I can. I mean, we're nowhere with it. We just, it's in a draft.
Yeah, just add, let's add it and give us a report then. Can I get a motion to add that?
Mayor, make a motion to add the status of the marina on our future agenda item.
Second.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Mervin, second by Commissioner Bolden, that we add the status of the marina update on our agenda item. Call for question. Hearing none. Are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. My next request is to add on the agenda a verbal as well as a written financial report to also include the status and update of our search tax expenditures and proceeds. I don't know when the last time we had one of
Can we
those,
add
but
the
we
credit
need
card
to
receipt
include,
to that?
and credit card expenditures. That'll be agenda item request. Could I get a motion on that?
I would like to offer a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we have a financial report to include surtax monies received, expended year-to-date, and also credit card purchase, credit card
Second.
report.
It was moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Commissioner Bolden that we have a financial report to include the credit card report, the surtax expenditures, added to our next agenda.
Mr. Mayor, my concern was, wasn't included in the vote with regards to committee, particularly MLK and other city-sponsored activities. I don't want to get into detail, but just want to address concerns from the citizens. I would like to offer a motion that committees, in particular MLK, be added to our agenda for discussion.
Okay.
We didn't finish the vote for the first one, did we?
Oh, you didn't?
We need to do that. Roll call on the financial report.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Mayor,
Stating my motion again, I do apologize. City activities committee, in particular MLK festivities, for next agenda item, for agenda next meeting.
Second.
okay, been moved by Commissioner Everett and properly second by Vice Mayor Mervin. Call for question. Hearing none, ready for vote. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. And my last request for agenda item is to consideration for recognition of a Anquan Bowling Day in the city of Pahokee, which would include
Mayor, we have an
We have that.
Anquan voting there already. You did a proclamation and everything.
It's on a
Did-
Saturday.
Okay.
I can send you the
Okay, we'll
proclamation.
get a status of it at our next commission meeting, just add it on the agenda so it can be aware of.
Mr. Mayor, it's 9 o'clock.
Sound
Yeah, it don't have to be exactly, but within the end.
It does. Sorry.
Okay. This meeting due to the time, 9 o'clock, which our commission meeting should and must end, we would adjourn our commission meeting, and whatever items that hadn't been taken care of on this particular meeting will be taken care of at the next commission meeting. Meeting adjourned. I got stuff to say.
Nalene, when is